Hey guys, welcome back to Mind Keys. My name is Dave, and I'm a coach and a hypnotherapist. And on this channel, we mostly talk about things like personal awakening, spiritual awakenings, personal transformation, kind of the deep spiritual, emotional kind of aspect of changing and shifting and transforming and coming into alignment and blossoming and awakening as a human being. That's my passion. It's what I love to talk about. And there will be more content about that on the way. But I have this new channel here, and I'm just developing an audience, and then this coronavirus, economic shutdown situation hits, and I have all these tools available. And so today, I wanted to just kind of whip out a quick video for you here on a mindset shift that you can apply immediately that will make the difference in terms of kind of centering yourself and calming down and soothing yourself and letting go of any accumulated stress or anxiety or worry that you might be carrying right now because of all the stuff going on. So let's go ahead and get into it. Uh, so it's funny because a lot of the work that I do revolves around resolving anxiety. So there are a lot of different ways that we can approach anxiety. And fundamentally, I wanted to just kind of set up this conversation with you by talking a little bit about the power of attention and what attention is and how it works a little bit, just so you understand what's happening with your own attention right now. So, the easiest way to understand the way attention works is that our brain is really only designed to process what they say is 7 plus minus 2, so that could be 5 to 9 different pieces of information in a given moment. And anything inside of that 5 to 7 pieces is what's called your reticular activating system. You may have heard of the RAS, or the reticular activating system, from Tony Robbins or from other personal development teachers. If not, look it up. There's science to back this up. But essentially, it's whatever is inside of what your brain has deemed important as your selective focus. Now, another way to think about that is that our attention is just like the eye itself, in that if you think about it, whatever you're focusing on with your vision and with your eye, there's only so much information in that particular area or in that particular space. And then outside of the focus of your eye a little bit, like the kind of semi-peripheral, you'll have less information coming in, right? And then even further towards a peripheral, even less information coming in. And the truth be told, the majority of the information around you is either behind you, below you, above you, or outside of your field of vision. And the same is true with the mind. So the way the mind works, the way attention works, we tend to only process what's inside that focus. And that focus can be kind of unconscious, or that focus can be conscious. But either way, we'll kind of have a narrow scope of what we're focusing on, and the rest of all the information that may or may not be useful to us might not be inside our area of focus at the moment. And what tends to happen when we get anxious is that that area of focus becomes hyperfixated on whatever the perceived problem or threat is, right? So obviously anxiety is a form of a fear response, which is totally natural, totally normal, but it's narrow. It's a narrow focus that we've got. So it's like, just like if you're working on something and you're kind of pinpointing and you're zeroing in and you have very specific, intense focus, that's essentially what our brain automatically does around whatever the problem or the threat is when we have, when we have anxiety. And so that's really what's happening with the brain in a moment of fear. So in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which is the field I study, we talk a lot about these different kind of presuppositions, or these kind of fundamental ideas that we work from in order to be able to work people and help them shift quickly. And one of those ideas that I think is so super useful is the kind of assumption that underneath every single human behavior we have, or that's possible, there's an underlying positive intention. So I want you to think about that for a moment in terms of your anxiety. So underneath anxiety, of course, there's a positive intention, right? And while it doesn't feel positive, underneath it, there is. And So, what would that positive intention be for you? Would that be to survive? Would that be to protect yourself? Would that be to avoid, um, you know, missing some important piece of information that could be life saving? Would that be to um, understand what's going on, so your brain's pulling your resources, all to the forefront? Pay attention. In my experience, for me, I know that anxiety is typically some form of self preservation. It's some form of trying to look to survive. I think that's, fairly obvious for most people. And in that, uh, if you really look at that and really understand that, you can start to identify that that's a form of self care, that's a form of self love, or that's a form of care for your family or your loved ones or those around you, even people you don't know. And so it's important to understand that anxiety is fundamentally, ultimately rooted in a sense of love. It's rooted in a sense of love for self, love for body, love for life, love for the other, and that's good and that's okay, right? And if you think about it, anxiety has two components at least that I can identify. There's kind of an awareness component, and then there's kind of a fight or flight animal bodily response component, right? So when we're feeling anxious, when we're feeling stressed, typically there is I want to run or fight, and there is I'm paying full attention, right? And if you think about it, this is the mindset shift that I find really helps. You can separate those and separate the useful from the unuseful, and make an agreement with yourself. Maybe check in with your inner being or your unconscious mind or your higher self, or whatever you'd like to call it, the deeper part of you, the animal intelligence, however you like to think about it. Maybe just check in for a moment and just ask yourself, would I be willing to maintain the awareness and separate out all the fear and all the fight or flight, and just allow this anxiety to turn into just clarity, allow it to turn into attention, allow it to turn into presence, allow it to turn into being more fully aware and in the moment? And ask your unconscious mind if you'd be willing to ask right now, just check in with yourself. Are you willing to separate awareness from fear and just have the awareness, knowing that it's the awareness part that will protect you? Knowing that if you're paying attention and you're present, you'll know when it's time to act and when it's not time to act. Check in. See if you get a yes or a no there. Maybe you hear it as a little voice, or maybe see a picture of like a green light in your mind, or maybe you just feel like a lightness and a yes, or you feel a contraction and a no. Whatever you, however you process that, notice if there's a response. And if it's a yes, then that's my suggestion. That's the mind shift, is that you move forward with awareness and let go of the fight or flight. Just drop the fear, drop the stress, drop the tension, increase the attention, increase the presence, because that's what's going to protect you. And if there's a no there, then that means there's some form of resistance. So that means there's some form of self-empathy to engage in. There's some form of asking yourself, what is it that you need in order to be able to let go of the fight or flight part of this anxiety or fear and turn it into just attention and awareness, right? Check in and ask yourself, what does it need? What's the positive intention of the fight or flight part? And maybe it just wants to make sure that you take action. And if that's the case, maybe you can just make an arrangement. Hey, fight or flight, why don't you come back to me when I need to certainly, definitely, clearly take action. And until then, I'm going to use awareness first. Just check in, make some sort of agreement that works for you with your unconscious mind. And consider for a moment that awareness is actually, what they would consider a divine quality. So if you are looking in terms of aspects of the sacred or aspects of the higher self or aspects of divinity, perfect awareness, perfect presence, perfect intelligence is a sign that you are in touch with your own divine self. And so dwelling in that presence is healing. It's powerful. It will protect you. It will save you. The more awareness you have, the safer you'll be. The more likely you are to catch details and awareness isn't just external, it's also internal. If something doesn't feel right to you intuitively and you catch that, that's a form of awareness also. If you have fear coming up and you're present to it rather than swept away by it, that too is a form of awareness, right? So awareness becomes this incredibly useful tool for managing yourself, for managing life around you. And I would argue that that's the important part of anxiety, and that's rooted in love, and that's rooted in caring. And if you can really allow that awareness to be present and then sink into that with a more relaxed way of being, then you hit what I think is the sweet spot, which is this kind of, they call it alert, alert relaxation or, calm focus, something like that, right? Where you're kind of just in the centered, relaxed, at ease, but totally mentally clear, present experience. And I would offer to you that kind of a mind state, this kind of a mind state of calm, alert, presence, of awareness over fear is going to really serve you a lot more as we move through these very uncertain times. Because you'll have the discernment, your mind won't be clogged with all of that adrenaline and fear and all of these different impulses and all that chatter. You'll be much more clear to accurately perceive information and use it well. So I hope that serves you. For me, that's been a big way to calm down. That's a big door. That's a big portal for me to step into centeredness and relaxation. So I hope that mindset shift works for you too. Please let me know in the comments of the video here. If you like this, I can make more stuff like this. If it doesn't work for you, let me know too. I'd be curious to know what does or doesn't work. And please follow the channel. Thumbs up if you're seeing this on YouTube. It really helps the algorithm. Pay attention. And if you want to support this kind of work, I am setting up a Patreon. I will be doing daily relaxation videos like this. So if you want to engage this work for a very affordable price, I'll be making that available to you very shortly here. So thank you so much for watching. I have another video on the way soon where I'll be doing a 20-minute kind of negative energy clearing and then a meditation. You may want to watch that, especially if you're not very good at meditating, because I'll be sharing perspectives and angles on meditation that most people kind of look over that I think are useful for beginner meditators. So take care, be well, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys soon.